I can't tell you how many 20, 30-year-old guys I know who they're trying to get married, they're trying to buy a house, they're trying to have kids.
Yep.
And most of them are putting all three of those amazing things off because they can't figure out how to make money. They're living by default. And to kind of crack the code of how to actually build wealth, not just as an employee, but as a business owner, is a huge shift for a lot of people. You got to re-steer the train, if you will, into a design. You have to design your own path. Don't just live by default.
I'm super excited to bring a dear friend of mine, amazing asset to the restoration industry, to this podcast, the founder and CEO of True North Restoration, an up-and-coming restoration franchisor with over 18 locations, Mr. Justin Donat. We're going to dive into the two key traits that you need to overcome pretty much the darkest days of restoration. I'm super excited to unpack.
People join franchises because they don't want to be on an island by themselves.
Yep.
And so we have this group, we have this amazing dynamic, this culture where we're all helping. Right at this moment, we've got 9 locations in Tampa, all working together, funneling each other jobs, labor, equipment, they're all helping each other be successful. And it's very rare. We don't see Paul Davis, Puro Clean, anyone down there doing that. And we started from nothing, me and my wife in a van, and grew it from there, and the rest is history, so.
Welcome, everybody, to the Albi After Hours podcast, where we talk about propelling the restoration industry forward. My name is Alex, dude. I'm super excited to bring a dear friend of mine, an awesome customer, and a amazing asset to the restoration industry, to this podcast, the founder and CEO of True North Restoration, an up-and-coming restoration franchisor with over 18 locations, Mr. Justin Donat. How's it going, man?
Doing great, Alex. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here. And a beautiful place here in Chicago. So excited for this weekend.
Yeah, this will be an awesome weekend. And thanks so much for leaving Tampa, Florida, which is currently dealing with, what's it called? Helene?
Yeah, Hurricane Helene.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy, wasn't it?
It's crazy. We were in the trenches. It's a war zone down there. Just flew up this morning. Very proud of our locations. A lot of them have mobilized and doing a lot of amazing stuff down there. So very exciting. Awesome. I get to escape for a couple days and come up to beautiful Chicago.
Yeah. Yeah. You picked it turned out to be a perfect time, right? October, it's not too hot, not too cold. You know, there's still sailboats out on Lake Michigan. So yeah.
I do think of Chicago being freezing lake effect weather, and it's 70 and beautiful. Yeah, so this is incredible.
It won't last for long. Probably by the time you hop back on the plane, it's going to turn on
snow.
The dime. So yeah. But yeah, man, I think, I want everybody to stay till the end, because we're going to dive into the two key traits that you need to overcome pretty much the darkest days of restoration. I'm super excited to unpack that. But I think we should start with, your founding story. So that way a lot of people maybe listening that maybe haven't heard it can hear that. And how you got into restoration, how you got from, growing up to who you are now.
Yeah, sounds great. Well, I'll give you a quick abbreviated story. I grew up in a little beef cattle farm in Southwest Missouri with my brother, and then went to University of Arkansas in Fayetteville, Woo-Pig-Sooie. That's where I met my wife, and definitely married up. She was the captain of the volleyball team at Arkansas, which was amazing. Once we got married, I worked at JB Hunt Transportation for a few years, a big trucking company there. Walmart's headquartered there. And after a few years, me and my wife moved over to Switzerland, where she played professional volleyball. So that was an exciting chapter. And when we came back, just didn't know what to do. I knew I wanted to start a business. I saw the economics around business ownership. Just the ability to build generational wealth these days really happens through real estate, sales, or business ownership. I mean, it's just hard to build a lot of wealth if you're not in one of those three categories. So we looked at a lot of different business concepts. We jumped in. It was kind of a carpet cleaning guy. It was a friend of a friend, nothing formal at all. He's like, how about you work for me for free for a week and learn some ropes? So we did that, moved to Denver, Colorado, and we started from nothing, me and my wife in a van, and grew it from there. And the rest is history. So
that's awesome. Yeah. And currently you guys have 18 locations that are all franchisees. So basically independent business owners that have subscribed to the True North Restoration model all throughout the U.S.
Yeah. And we might talk about that a little bit more, but we started off with branches, satellite offices, and especially when we went across state lines. We opened up our Dallas office, I think our 4th location. It got a lot harder. The balance sheet grew, the liabilities grew. And so we kind of we sat back and looked at, is there a better business model to expand this? And, obviously Serve Pro, Service Master, Paul Davis, Pure Clean. We really started looking in the franchise business concept and realized it's a great way it matched our vision and our purpose. More specifically, our purpose of what we want to do is help other people get generational wealth. Well, what did I say? It was sales, real estate, or business ownership. Now, instead of general managers who are just employees, we're going to take people and they're going to become business owners and build their own wealth. It was just like a perfect business model. It was like a light bulb went off and we just off and running. That was in 2019 when we had that concept. By 2020, we did our FTD, and like you said, 18 locations across the country, and growing.
So part of True North is there to do right by the customer and help homeowners during the times of needs and property owners. But it sounds like you guys have a different commitment to your franchisees, and it sounds like it's almost like a wealth generation product for employees that want to kind of become their own boss.
Absolutely. When we were running our own operation, of course our customer was the homeowner, the building owner, and we can't ever lose sight of that. That is our product, that we need to focus on the best service in that product. But as a franchisor, our customers are technically our franchisees. And they're on the front lines taking care of everything. They're holding their own assets and liabilities. They're doing their own sales, pushing this thing forward to have their own employees. So really, our success is measured at purely how well these guys are doing. And I think there is a negative connotation in the franchising world where it's all about just selling dots on a map, get as many numbers out there. And you hear a lot of franchisees. I've heard this saying. I might butcher it. It's something like, sell the dream and then operate the nightmare. In the franchising space. It's all about sell. It's so cool. It's amazing. And then you're left with no systems, processes, no help. No one cares. And people join franchises because they don't want to be on an island by themselves. And so we have this group, we have this amazing dynamic, this culture where we're all helping. Right at this moment, we've got 9 locations in Tampa, all working together, funneling each other jobs. Labor, equipment, they're all helping each other be successful. And it's very rare. We don't see Paul Davis, Pure Clean, anyone down there doing that kind of concept. And it'll be hard to scale and grow that. If we get to 50, 100 locations, it's going to be a lot harder to keep that. But for now, we can see the value of one person helping another one in Tampa in this hurricane and building more wealth than if we were all an island by ourselves.
That's awesome.
That was long-winded, but
no, I mean, I think it's awesome. And one of the reasons I invited you to speak at this event is when I came and, attended the True North Summit, what I realized you speak about culture. It's hard enough to create culture with employees, right? Your direct reports that you hire and fire yourself. You guys have a network of entrepreneurs or business owners, but they all seem to fit this culture, right? Like your values kind of emanate throughout. And even when I, talk to your different franchisees, there's it almost feel like they're a part of a pack and they fit within there, from a values perspective and such. How are you able to assemble not just a company with employees, but a franchise network with multiple organizations that are all interwoven within this culture?
Oh man, that's a great question. If I had a perfect answer, I'd tell you, but I don't know. No, I mean, you're being around the bush a little bit. We are a faith-based company, and we're not afraid to share that. That can be good or bad. I mean, we can shoot ourselves in the foot with that. There's a lot of, I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss on this podcast, a lot of just asshole Christians out there. And that's not what we want to be, and we aren't fully immune to it either. I mean, we're always going to have issues and troubles. We're always going to have tough employees. We're going to have some tough franchise owners. But if we're coming at it with a very similar faith, which then usually turns into similar core values and desires, there are a lot of businesses at the end of the day. The most important thing, if everything else fell apart, the most important thing is just profit. And I think that's important. We have to have profit. We don't have profit, we don't have a business. I think a lot of our guys would push the envelope on that and say it really is the product, the experience of the customer, the service we give to them. These are real people hurting, and we have to have an empathy to come into their home, their castle or kingdom on this earth in their most broken times and help them. And if that doesn't resonate with you, get the hell out of this industry. Like, this is not
Yeah.
like, if you're here just for a buck, it'll show through quick, and we don't want that. So vetting our franchise owners from the beginning is a very important process that we do. And we have some incredible guys. Like you said,
100%.
we have 18 5-star dudes running this. So it's
awesome.
it's pretty amazing.
That's awesome. And yeah, I mean, how many other faith-based restoration franchisors are there out there?
If you find one, let me know.
Okay.
It's difficult because again, it can
That's
differentiate
the key.
you.
It's a huge differentiator.
It is.
And like, it'll either inspire people and attract the right types of people for your organization, or it'll detract the others. So yeah, I think you should totally be 100% genuinely you.
Yeah. And we were a little nervous about becoming a faith-based company and making it part of us. Again, we don't want to overstate it. You can do a lot of negative things with that. But one thing we found out is how many people in the world not only want to start business, all the purpose things I said before. They want to start a business, they want to create wealth, they want to take care of their families, all of those things. But they wanted to do it on their own terms with their faith involved. We've had at least 3 or 4 franchise owners who said they wanted to come with True North because they, at their old previous job, they couldn't express their faith in their workplace at all. And quite the opposite. Some of them would maybe even get in trouble if they mentioned anything, especially in the public sphere and stuff. So they just want the freedom to be able to own their own business, to run it the way they want and take care of their customers.
The quote that popped in my head right now was profit fuels philanthropy, right? So you use the profits, and sure, that's great, but how many business owners end up, multimillionaires and then commit suicide because there's nothing bigger out there, right? But then if you can think of the way of how you can, build the businesses around to generate the fuel, right? And yeah, there's, like you said, assholes out there that are, millionaires that are just hoarding the money away, doing bad stuff. But who says you can't build a company, take the money away from those bad people, and then use that money to, back the causes that you truly believe in?
Dude, you're hitting it right on the head. I didn't know if we'd get this deep. We don't have to get philosophical
I love this. This is
if you don't have a purpose, and we talk a lot about mission, vision, core values in business, but we don't talk a lot about purpose and the why behind why we do what we do. If you don't have that, you're going to lose motivation quick. You don't really. It's hard to even come up with a 10-year vision if your vision is just purely numbers based. Now, some people are built different, and this is all numbers. But yeah, if you don't have that drive, that motivation, people burn out in 2, 3, 4 years pretty quick. So we push the purpose and a why behind all of this. A little side note, I watched this interview, and I might butcher it a little bit here. Tom Brady, I think after 3 Super Bowls, he sat down on 60 Minutes, and they're like, "Okay, so Tom, you just won your 3rd Super Bowl. Man, that's like not just 1, not just 2. Now you got 3 on. How do you feel?" And he just kind of got really somber and was like, "Yeah, it's okay. I'll probably go for some more rings." He had to drive, and that's exciting. And he went for 6 or 7. Way to go. He's probably the GOAT in football. But you could see this emptiness that he just didn't really have a purpose with it. And he's done a lot of interviews since where I kind of feel bad for the guy. I hope he doesn't see this. I mean, he's a lot wealthier than me, so I would take advice from him. But you can see, like, if it's just purely a numbers game, if it's just to hit $1 million next year, if it's just to hit 5 million the year after that, whatever it is, great. People do that all the time and end up very unhappy. So it's got to be deeper than that.
Well, the other thing is, I think, like, numbers are easy, and a lot of times people think that, business or P&Ls or valuations are like this science where it's black and white. But I don't know if you've ever found yourself like digging into the P&Ls and digging into the numbers and realizing that numbers themselves are an art, not a science, right? Yeah. And there's so many ways that you could use numbers to tell different stories. And then I think, not to get philosophical, but we can go a step even deeper and say, like, there's really nothing in this world that's finite or like super concrete, right? It's almost like there's these boxes, and, at the end of the day, even what's quote unquote finite, we can't describe with words. We can't describe with numbers. Things aren't binary and such. Yeah. And that's where, like, that, when you talk about purpose, like, just that feeling, right? That little instrument that we all have, our gut feeling, right? Like you said, the way you can tell from Tom Brady feeling like he didn't have that purpose or whatever, and the way you can tell when somebody's lit up by something, like, going based on that feeling and that passion is super important.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, with numbers, I mean, numbers don't lie. So
Yeah.
you definitely got to look at your P&L. And
Of course.
I think we're doing a big push in our company where I've realized the balance sheet is one of the most important things. If you've got to measure your assets and liabilities every month, you know, look at your quick and cash ratio and things like that, to really see if every month or every quarter you're actually improving. But you're right. Like business is, as cheesy as it sounds, it's like a living organism, and it's almost like art.
Yep.
Like, sure, this number is increasing, this one's decreasing. You know, our asset turnover ratio is improving. All those make sense, but you have to be able to sit back, take in all the numbers, and decide where this organism is going. And if it's going somewhere great. Now you have purpose. If it's going nowhere, to make money and just spend it on things that aren't going to make you happy, and who cares if it takes you away from your family and whatever's important for you, it's got to have purpose behind it, or you're just going to burn out. It's just another job.
The other quote we put on the back of the Evolve t-shirts is a life by design, not a life by default. And like you're mentioning, whether it's going in the right direction or the wrong direction based on what you intended, I think what's even worse, I think I'd rather have a business go in the wrong direction and have the direction defined than not have the direction defined and have the business take me wherever. Default ends up in wherever the world takes me, wherever the people around me takes me. If I hang out with good people or bad people or whatever, it's just going to be whatever it is. Whereas if I can like shape it and put it on the track, okay, even though I'm off track, I know I can get back on that track. And I know that, hey, this is where I'm going and this is what I'm doing. Yeah. And most restoration business owners don't think of the power of like, hey, you can go in this direction. We talk about Elon a lot. Like he wants to, you know, make mankind a multi-planetary species. So then all of his businesses, whether they're good or bad, whether they're profitable or not, right? They all have like a little purpose within this grander vision. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Elon's a great example of that. I don't know of anyone who has a more clear vision of where they're going, but you're kind of getting into like a macroeconomic thing that I love talking about. And I mentioned it earlier, this idea of wealth creation. And, you know, a lot of people are just kind of living life by default. What was the quote for the Evolve? What was it again?
Life by design, not by default.
Not by default. Okay, yeah. And so many people I know have been fed, I don't know if I want to call it a lie, but close to it, that if they go get a job and they work hard, they're going to create wealth. I can't tell you how many 20, 30-year-old guys I know who they're trying to get married, they're trying to buy a house, they're trying to have kids.
Yep.
And most of them are putting all three of those amazing things off because they can't figure out how to make money. They went and got a job.
Yep.
They're making okay money. They're putting another year, 5 years in, 10 years in. They still aren't going where they need to. They're living by default. And to kind of crack the code of how to actually build wealth, not just as an employee, but as a business owner, is a huge shift for a lot of people. You got to re-steer the train, if you will, into a design. You have to design your own path. Don't just live by default. Otherwise, default isn't going to get you. I mean, maybe 50 years ago, you could go get a job at IBM for 50 years and make it, but it's a different world now. So you're exactly right. You have to design your path and not just live in default stage.
Do you think you create wealth or do you think you attract the wealth?
Oh, great question. I at the end of the day, you have to grind and make it work. And you know, maybe a little later we'll kind of talk on what that looks like. I think there's a really good book I read, CEO Tools, and it talks about I think it's 8 things a CEO is in charge of. One, it's like, you know, casting the vision, you know, all these different things, making KPI metrics. But one of them is attract and hire the right talent. Yep. And a lot of people don't realize that's literally a role of a leader, not just any CEO, any leader.
Yep.
If you're out there just being a dud, like, I'm doing my job, doing okay, who wants to follow that?
Exactly.
It's boring. It's lame. You need passion. You need to have some fun in what you're doing, again, or else you're just another job. But to be able to create, to be able to, and this is what I love about you, Alex, to be honest, you bring a lot of life into what you do. It's just exciting. I follow your Instagram stuff, and you're always just pushing and going, and people want to follow that. They want to see people going out, working hard, changing it, the world. I mean, and it doesn't always have to be sexy. It's not always some big flashy thing. It's really just, there's enough pressures in the world pushing us down. It's awesome to see men and women really becoming strong leaders and attracting the people and talent around them to build an organization that has a great purpose and vision.
Yeah.
I mean, it almost doesn't get better than that.
Yeah. This is super cool. Like the 3 things I have is, vision, people, capital.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's my 3 jobs as a CEO.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, if you start like unpacking it again, probably to not get philosophic or even biblical, but like you see these motifs and these trends that like, whether you read Think and Grow Rich was 100 years ago, or whether you even go back to Marcus Aurelius from thousands of years ago, there's all these like the principles you just stated here are timeless. They're not this flashy, like, get rich quick scheme or whatnot. Like at the end of the day, if you have a crazy enough vision and you're able to attract the right people to come to your vision, and that vision also as a greater good, right? Because you could have a negative vision or something that doesn't help everybody, and it might temporarily work, like tyranny temporarily works, but then it perishes, right? Yeah. But if there's something big that could be for the greater good, you'll end up just fine.
Yeah. On kind of a side note, you mentioned, was it vision, people, and capital?
Yeah.
I really like that. That's pretty much summarizes exactly what a leader needs to focus on. But
those are the 3 things on my board every day. So everything else is irrelevant. So
there's do you know Verne Harnish with Scaling Up by any chance?
Nope.
A great book, really great book. Everyone go get it, read it.
Yeah, Joe, put them in the link in the video below.
It's very EOS traction. But Verne Harnish talks about the leaders. I don't even know if you call them leaders. The people at the top of the organization that have only vision, but don't know how to create that culture and pass it on to the people, or have the financial acumen on the capital side. Like it's so many guys want to be the leader and only have vision. And he's like, it's just kind of weird actually. It's just kind of creepy when you see these guys who are like, I've got all this vision. It's so cool. But like, well, can you execute on it? Can you attract other people to it? Can you look at your P&L and balance sheet and actually build a good company? Or is that boring to you?
Yeah.
To be able to put all those pieces together, it's unique. It's hard to do. I'm sure you
100%.
You feel the pain and struggle, but the joys of getting to do all of those together. It's a balancing act that's exciting.
Yeah, it's kind of like a yin and a yang, right? Because if you don't have vision, the people won't come. But then if you don't have people, you can't make the vision come true, right? So like it's this whole like, chicken the egg problem kind of thing.
Yeah.
And, it's definitely not easy. Now, obviously, you'd consider yourself more of a visionary, right? Versus an integrator within like the EOS frameworks and such.
Yeah. I try not to tell too many people that because, like I said, if my weakness is becoming too much of a visionary, not doing what I need to do and pretending someone else will. So,
got it.
Yes, I can sit and vision all day. I can dream in my bed all day. I need to make sure I get out of my bed.
Of course. Makes sense. But, it's interesting because I don't think it's a very common thing, right? Like it almost seems like we're born, like the people who are visionaries are born with this superpower, call it, or it could be a super weakness, call it, and you could flip it either way, but this trait where like dreaming just comes second nature. Like my whole life, like it's just like, it's one of those things that comes easy to me to be able to like close my eyes and envision something. It's like, hey, picture yourself in a spaceship going somewhere, boom, done. Picture yourself, riding a car and listen to the noise and such. But most people don't have the ability to do that. So it's almost like if you're given the ability to dream and clarify a vision, it's almost like a sign that like that's what you exist for. That's like your purpose on this world is to, clarify that vision and to act upon that vision.
Yeah.
Because like very small percentage of people can actually do that. Most people need somebody else's vision, and most people are really good at executing, and they need that vision to be able to, actually make things happen.
Yeah. No, you're right. I sometimes take it for granted. I think some of my frustrations in the business is I'm assuming everyone just knows my vision or where we're going next. And vision involves, I think of chess where you're thinking 6 moves ahead and then someone makes a move and you have to, those next 5 moves you're planning all change because it changed. So vision has to be very fluid and quick and adaptable. I'm curious. I don't know if I can interview you and ask a question, but I'm thinking out loud, like what makes, like, is it an innate thing that we have that for vision? Or as I'm thinking through it, I'm wondering if it has to do with the more in life that you're uncomfortable and things change, the more you have to adapt, and it makes you get quick on thinking through systems or steps ahead. You're, again, like chess, you're thinking 3-5 steps ahead. Could be in defense. It could, I grew up on a beef cattle farm. My parents didn't go to college. I remember going to college thinking like, whoa, I am so uncomfortable here.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said with the uncomfortableness, but I also think like society suppresses that skill. So I look at my daughter and every 2-year-old, right? They're out there, they're playing with stuff. Like my daughter's sitting there with like the fork and the spoon and like, and then like, then, your child like speaks up a little louder and you're probably gonna like your first instinct's probably like, Johnny, shut up. Like we're in public, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And I think like society suppresses that. Like, I think it's a thing that we all have, but some people were just willing to go long enough being misunderstood and kept on to the trait. And then other people's, kind of suppressed to what society needed. And I also think it's kind of this, we needed it to evolve as human beings. Like if you look at it, during the Industrial Revolution, we didn't need thinkers. We needed people to, raise their 2 hands and, execute the orders and go to the factory and move the pieces around. Now we're kind of seeing a shift where all of those things like the scut work is being replaced by machinery, by AI and so on and so forth. And now it's kind of like we need a new generation of people who will actually envision and figure out the things that these machines should build and such. Yeah. But I don't know. I think it's in a lot of people. I think that it's almost like a skill that we're born with, but again, suppressed.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But cool, man. So going into, the thing that we promised everybody here today, a lot of times, like I even said, it's like, if you want to be successful in restoration and whatever it is, I think successful people go long periods of time being okay with being misunderstood, right? In essence, you're going to go through, pardon my French, but you're going to go through shit for long periods of time. And like you said, it's very easy to do what's right when like you're quote unquote successful or the numbers are up and stuff like that. But it's really hard to go through like those deepest and darkest times where maybe the numbers, like you're super clear in your vision, but the numbers aren't showing up properly, or you lost that one employee, or tragedy happens and such. What do you think are the traits that help entrepreneurs, and let's tie it to the restoration space, that are going through those times? Like what are the 2 things that they need to have to make that recipe to be able to, go the extra mile?
Yeah, no, great question. First of all, it's easy to sit here in this nice hotel in Chicago and just throw out nice cliches and catchy lines and success. And I guarantee you have. I know I have been through some real dark times in business, some lonely times. At one point, I had a business partner tell me I pushed too hard, and I'm thinking, there's no way I push hard enough. Like this thing, I need to push this up a hill, and I don't know if we're going to get there. And, things are difficult as a business owner. It's never easy. And in fact, I just heard a quote, I think it was Thomas Edison, who said, problems are the rule. They're not the exception. Every day is problem solving and figuring it out. So to answer your question, it's to preface it first with, not if hard times come or dark times come, it's when they come. And more often than not, they're here more often than the good times.
Yep.
And when you go through that, look, I could give you 70 answers, good P&Ls, discipline, trust, throughout any core value you want. But I think it comes down to 2 things. It comes down to grit and passion. And to kind of get off the restoration one for a second, I think both of those, if you meet someone who has both of those, they usually have habits in the morning. And I'm, Alex is my role model, so I'm going to put you on the spot. But what do you do most mornings when you wake up?
Savers method's what I ruthlessly copied from Hal.
Well, you're looking pretty fit these days.
Working out, affirmations, reading, journaling, working on myself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If you have great habits of waking up in the morning, working out, doing affirmations, I read my Bible almost every morning with my wife, prayer, that translates into actually how you're going to lead through the day, because the shit's going to hit the fan an hour later, 2 hours later. And most people can't handle that. They're just, and I'm not trying to be negative, but the reality is most people cannot handle those difficult times. And so, it really comes down to grit. Are you willing to take on the problems of the business every day? When a problem comes, are you going to procrastinate, put it off? Oh shoot, I'll look at that tomorrow. This is too difficult today. Or are you going to drink a Red Bull and attack it head on and take care of it? And then if you lose your passion as a leader, no one wants to follow that. You're no different than the next boring company out there. If you lose your grit and passion, I don't think you have anything, honestly. It's just, you might as well just throw in the towel and go away. The best way to keep those, in my opinion, wake up and start your day right. If you can start your day with grit and passion, if you're excited to wake up, most people aren't. They wake up, they're dreading the day already. Yeah. They know the second their eyes open, their feet hit the ground, it's going to be problems, pain, loneliness, suffering, difficulties. I don't want to deal with that. And frankly, that happens with me. I mean, I've got 3 little kids. Life is hard. Finances are tough. You got to have the strength to get out of bed and tack it head on. Go, again, drink some coffee, lift some weights, listen to some rap, whatever you need to do. But have the grit, dig deep and attack every day. So I know it sounds cliche, but
no, it's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. I think you can, like what I do sometimes, I flip it. When you go through a tough time, tell yourself that you get to do this. Yeah. Right. You get to wake up in the morning and go through these things, because many people don't. Yeah. Right. So
I was, I can't remember who said the quote, but it's the guy who started the wine.com.
Ooh, that sounds so familiar.
What's his name? Gary Vaynerchuk.
Okay.
He talks about your pay, the amount you get paid, and in this case, as a business owner, the amount you're going to profit in your business is directly correlated with the amount of problems you solve every day. When things are good, things are good. No one cares about that. But you're literally called every day to put out fires. And if you run away from that, you're going to be just a normal employee 100%. Who can't make money. You're always going to struggle. But if you're the guy who knows how to tackle a problem every single day, that's where that's kind of like the whole part of economics. You're here to solve problems and make the world better. That means you're solving problems which are hard and difficult every day.
But that's what creates value, right? Like value is, hey, I have a problem. You came up with a solution.
Yeah, exactly. So
super cool, man. This was super fun. I know it probably feels like it went by super fast. But any last words for restorers out there? Are you going? Maybe some of them are going through tough times. Others maybe are right in the highs. Maybe some are, just comfortable.
Yeah. If you're riding the highs, great. High five people and have some fun with it. When the dark days come, find someone. I think, being able to talk with you, Alex, and our franchise owners. I have a group of business mentors in Denver I meet with all the time. It's not if things get hard, it's when they do. You have a group of people to turn to and talk to, and there's solutions out there. You just have to find them. You have to have the grit and the passion to go find those solutions and figure it out. So
awesome. Cool, man. Well, we do this thing. We end every podcast with a hug. So
I don't know
if you don't mind.
I'm a hugger. That's great.
Let's hug it out, man.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, man.